Hi, it's Juris and welcome to Tattoo Shop Talk. And today we will have a look at new brand of cartridges. It's called Emalla or Emalla. I don't know how it's pronounced. Emalla Eliot cartridge needles, and the slogan is "Make Tattoo Safe." This is going to be a short one and a simple one because there's nothing much to talk about. They're pretty much good cartridges. I will explain how I got them and why I think they are good. I haven't paid attention to this brand too much because this is one of those brands that will spam your inbox like crazy. Probably if you will check your inbox and your spam folder, you will find something from this brand as well. There were those type of emails where they're like, we can make special colors for you, we can customize cartridge needles, would you like to get some samples? It always seemed for me sketchy, so I was just ignoring them. And then on one beautiful day, probably different departments, a marketing or something like that department instead of sales department, reached out to me on Instagram, and it was pretty straightforward. We'll send you cartridges and you can make a video about it, which I agreed to. And once I got in touch with the company, obviously you start to follow all the social medias, and then the social medias does its thing, all the algorithms and all that stuff. And one thing I noticed that there are quite big tattoo names joining this team. You can find on their webpage. I don't know what's the team involves, but they are sponsoring them and that type of a thing. One dude that I've been following for many years, and he's really good tattoo artist. The name is here, so check him out. I've been following the guy. I know his works is amazing, so if that guy is working with these needles, speaking of what can be done, I would say I think that anything can be done, because you can look at his works. It's awesome stuff. You can look at other tattooists that they have mentioned on their page. Therefore, if those people who do what they do can do it with these needles, there's no question at what can be done. And also I think it's a silly question like, do these needles tattoo good? It's not the needle that tattoos good. Like, if that needle is not complete garbage, then most likely it will be fine. I also did not have any high expectations. I thought it's one of those brands, and when they arrived, I got them out of box. There was also included this beautiful bag, but cartridges were not in a bag. But there was the bag. And I got the cartridges out, and the design and the blue color, it's not something that rings my taste bells, kind of, and that's still at the my being unimpressed part. And then one thing I spotted and I just clicked, I was like, why everybody is not doing that? These cartridge needles, they are in the boxes, and boxes are wrapped in plastic, so they are all sealed, all tight, and you know that it's fresh, that no one has been in there, that this thing comes from the factory. There's not really easy way to open them, but it's just a plastic, so you can manage. That's pretty cool, and I think all brands should do that, so you know that it's fresh box of cartridge needles. Some brands like Da Vinci, they would put this sticker where you would see if somebody have opened it, so it's kind of a little seal. For brands like Quadron, I don't even know what they try to do with it. Funny part is that you have this seal on one side that says with membrane, but nothing on other. So you can just open it up, and from this side, package will look like it's intact, which can be confusing if you look after your needles and you see unpacked box on a shelf, but then there might be 2 or none cartridges in there. So that's on packaging. They also have this situation going on, so you can easily stack them, you can organize, you can have less mess in your shop, which is obviously nice as well. And they have all the sizes that you might want to have, single needle, and go up to all the big magnums, round shaders, liners, and all that stuff. I'm not a fan of this color. It has this very clinical look, but that's not a deal breaker. And maybe because before I worked with other needles that were also in blue color, and they were not great. They were not bad, they were good for what they were, but they were not great, so maybe that clicked in my head, so that's why first impressions were like, meh. But once I tried a needle, first needle I tried, I was like, oh wow, this is something. What's cool about these? I mean, we worked with these for around 2 months now. We never had any issues with them, no faulty items, everything worked fine. They are super stable. This is 9 round shader, and it fits pretty snug, pretty tight in there. It's not wiggling around much like other cartridges where you work with it. It wouldn't be sometimes even in the center of a tip, but these stay where they should be. They fit pretty nice, and ink flow is amazing for this type of cartridge. Usually there's some hiccups. These just work. And when you open these boxes up, you also get a cool sticker in there, which is this one. They're not super cheap, they're not super expensive, but they are kind of on a higher end of mid-range. I have a bunch of prices here. On Emalla webpage you can request price. You can also find list of distributors, and I found a few. In euros they are 22 to 28 per box. It's a UK webpage, but it shows price in Danish krone, and it's 171 to 189 krone, so that's for our Danish audience. Sweden, I guess 275 to 330, 25-26 euros. Also check their webpage, links in the description. As always, they also sell a bunch of other stuff. There's tattoo machines, grips, and all sorts of accessories. As I mentioned, we have worked with these for some time and never had a single issue, and they fit all the grips, they fit all the metal grips just fine, they fit original grips just fine, they fit in there. They fit all the generic plastic grips and they fit in there perfect. Never had a single issue. On their promo materials they also put accent on a membrane that they have it. Also the slogan is make tattoo safe. So that's all good news. Never had any of the membranes snapped or anything. And also the cartridges, some of them you can just open up pretty easy. You can just pull it with your fingers and they are open. These are a bit harder to do, which is also a good thing because it means that they are put together sturdy and they're not gonna fall apart on you. Let's open one up because I like to do that. That's what happens when you lose pliers in a shop. Even that wasn't easy. On inside, on a plunger, they have this situation where it's this square thingy. So the square bit in there would fit in this plastic bit, which means that that needle can do all this stuff. It cannot spin around, which is also a good thing. And the membrane is the one that keeps it in place. It's super elastic. It feels like it's a bit more on the softer type of needles, which is a good thing because with some needles, some machines struggle to push them. Never had single issue with these yet. Also, when we agreed on getting these needles, they arrived pretty quick, so that's also a good thing. So shipping is fast. On their webpage it also states that there's free shipping. In their businessy team that is spamming your inboxes, they also offers free samples. And samples are pretty typical. You get all the random sizes and you can try them out. I know that other people do it from get-go. I started to do some line work with round shaders. This is 9 round shader and it's more like in that 11-ish type of liner territory. And I really like 7 round shader. That's kind of like a bold 9 liner and it does really good job. It puts the ink in, and for those who like that traditional tattoo look, you can get pretty bold lines with cartridge needles. So that's maybe again for somebody who wants to try, who's switching from traditional needles to cartridges. So you can try these round shaders. That's something to try, to do lines with these shaders. They do pretty good job. It feels unusual at first, but that's not the point. As long as it's done, as long as it puts the ink in, that's also all good news. And with these samples and these new needles, I have found new groupings that are my favorite. That would be that 7 round shader, in some situations 9 round shader. But one needle that I really like and I have never touched before and I never used it, it's 7 Magnum. Not the curved one, but the straight one. There's no problems with the curved one, it also works fine. What I found, since my shop is more like a walk-in shop and we get a lot of those small Pinteresty things, those 7 Magnums just do a really good job where you have to fill in some small areas and they just work perfect. They work fine and I never even looked at those small Magnums. The smaller groupings, 3 round liners and that type of thing, my colleague does a lot of those fine line works. She's using these needles most of the time. Like, you know, when you have different brands in your cupboard, then you start to use one, you're like, oh, this is good, so you would always reach for that one. Now these Emalla Eliot needles are the ones that I would reach out the most for. So definitely good needles. Price makes total sense. And like I said, I have not been excited for a long time for a new brand of needles. Maybe they don't look as fancy, but they really do the job. And the packaging with the plastic, it's like everybody has to do that. It's just a kind of like a safety thing, so you know that it's all sealed. Not that there's ever been issue with like missing needles or something mispackaged, but it's just nice to know. Check them out, definitely good needles. From my perspective, they work fine also in a walking situations. Price-wise, it makes sense. Like I said, they're not super cheap. They are on that mid-range, maybe on a higher part of mid-range, but it makes sense because it's a good needle. It does its job. It ships quick. You can check their social media, you can check their webpage, and maybe check your inboxes for those spammy emails and see what's the offer. Maybe try those samples first. If you have a chance, try it. Really good needles. If you have tried them, then leave your thoughts down in the comment section. And if you checked your inbox or your spam folder and you found email from this company, so just for the fun, then leave that in a comment section. Just say, I also got that email. Obviously share your thoughts, press likes on video, and check this brand, check their social media, check their webpage. Leave comments, tell us what you think. See you in the future episodes. Thank you for watching, stay safe, see you in the future.